Okay, so this lesson, this section is all about what occurs right in this zone right here. This panel has all of the other stuff you can draw. Polylines, circles, arcs, construction lines, clouds, those kind of things. Now, the line command obviously is used for most everything that you do, but one of the other ones that you use a whole lot, and it's easy to learn, is the polyline. And the polyline is used very much so in the CNC applications and also the 3D modeling stuff. But here's the great thing about the polyline. The only difference, or the only thing that you need to know is this. Watch this. That one was drawn with the regular, or with the polyline command. This one is drawn with the line command. Visually, you don't see any differences, right? Lines look the same. Command works just the same as the other ones. Only one major difference between the polyline command and the line command. I click here, you see that? I click here, you see that. What's the difference? It's all one line. That's what polyline is. It's basically, even though the command itself works just like line, it keeps all the segments combined. The reason that's important is because when CNC devices and any type of modeling looks at lines, they don't like to see little segments. These are sort of broken to them. But software that deals with that kind of modeling, they like to see polylines. So sometimes you draw in polylines, sometimes you draw in regular lines, sometimes you draw in regular lines and you trace it. Whatever the case may be, the polyline works to create stuff just the same way, and it's right next to the line command or wherever it's located on your screen. Like I said, some software have different versions of polyline. Doesn't matter. You just find it and you use it and you draw just the same. So if I want to draw a 10-unit line, no big deal. Let's go 4 and close it back. It works just the same. It's just a all-encompassing line. Keep that in mind. Going to be very, very handy. So won't spend time on that one. Just a quick introduction. But the one that we are going to spend some time with real fast is this one, your circle. By the way, real quick question. A circle, how is it measured? Okay, radius is one option. However, when was the last time you went to the hardware store and bought a radius drill bit?
Diameter.
It's on diameter. So yes, the radius is part of it. The radius is, and by the way, what mathematically does the radius mean? Half the diameter, or the distance from the center right here to this edge. Okay? Diameter, of course, is from this edge straight across to the other edge, which is what most holes, drills, and those kind of things are based on, is diameter value. Don't get me wrong. You can draw a circle with a radius value. You can also draw with a diameter value. The thing about it is, though, you have to keep in mind which one you're using. Otherwise, and typically people make mistakes a lot of times, they'll actually type in a radius value for a diameter and it makes the circle twice as big as it needs to be. Now, just for referencing, when you look at a set of prints, here's roughly what you're going to be looking at. You see a circle. It'll probably have a crosshair on it here, referred to as center lines, and it's going to have this with this symbol, which we know to mean what? This symbol right here.
Oh, okay.
Diameter. So if I say it's a diameter of 6, let's say it's 6 millimeters or something, that's a very, very small hole, but it's the diameter value, which means the distance from this point to this point is what value? 6. Now, if someone wanted to give you the radius value, they put an R in front of it, and what would be the value right here? 3. Alright, so when you draw a circle, it's pretty easy to do. You go to the tool, you click on the circle command. Actually, it's got a pull down below. You've got a bunch of different ways to make a circle. You can click center, diameter, just click and click. You can click center, radius, click and click. Whatever the case may be, but you just need to do one. So real quickly, just go ahead and draw some circles on your screen. Just draw a few, no big deal. Whatever size. Make sure you use both the circle diameter, or the center diameter and center radius tool to make them. Alright, any problems, questions? Now you can freehand drawings, or you can just type them in. For example, I hit my circle diameter tool here, click a point, and let's pick out a diameter, let's say 2.75. We just type it in, bam, there's a 2.75 diameter. If I want to check to make sure everything's good, I can click over to my measure tool and click on a point here, click to there. It gives me a readout of 1.375 multiplied by 2. That is the correct diameter. By the way, when you want to use the measure tool, or the distance tool technically, the measure is actually the distance command. And it likes to click on stuff, and if you can't find a way to click on it, you can always draw lines in. Hit your tool, click on one end, on the other, and it gives you the distance between 2 points. One of the key things though to remember is it gives you the total distance. Watch this. If I actually measure this line, if I hit the tool correctly, there we go, and click here to here, it gives me the transition in the X direction, it gives me the transition in the Y direction, and I have to pull my screen up a little bit so you can see the overall distance of what I had. Let me pull that back down just so I have space. Very handy tool to check your work, and something you should kind of get used to is using distance command. If you actually want to type it in, you can just type in DIST, and that activates the ruler. Now, questions on your circles? Yep.
Do you have to go back to the circle every time to hit, like say, center radius?
That is an excellent question. How can you save some time and not have to go back up and down every single time? Here's the good news. First of all, when you activate the circle diameter, it stays on that. So if you just have to click the button, it's going to be circle diameter. But what if you don't want to repeat all that step? Here's the quick and easy way to repeat a command. If I go draw a circle, let's say it's diameter 0.5, and I want to do another one, all I have to do is hit space key on my keyboard or enter to reactivate the last command. So now I'm back in circle mode. I'll type in 0.25. Let's see, well actually that was the radius. It went automatic, but keep in mind it goes to the radius of command back. So you might have to watch. Let me show you an example. Pay real close attention to this because this will throw you off. Circle diameter 0.5. See how it's actually funky? See how my cursor is like outside the circle? That lets you know it's doing diameter. It's taking half the distance. So 0.5 is there. Now watch what happens when I hit enter and do a circle. See that where the cursor is? It defaults back to radius. So if you want to use this option, that's great, but watch this quick little trick. To activate the diameter option while you're doing the command, just right click and see what your option is right there. What's your option? Diameter. So you can switch it over to diameter mode midstream. So I hit diameter and I say 0.5 and we're good to go. I'll do it again. Any circle command, by the way, the other shortcut is C and enter on your keyboard. And again, radius until I right click and say diameter, and then 0.25 perhaps. There we go. So you can change the format of the circle midstream by just right clicking before you type a value in and saying diameter. Okay? But that's a little bit way to speed it up. If you don't want to go, if you just want to just do it one shot, just come up here and hit the pull down, hit diameter, and then keep clicking on it up and down time and time again. There are more ways to speed stuff up, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. Other questions? With that in mind? Okay, check it out. Here's what I need you to make for me. I've got a hole pattern. Here's a blueprint. I've got 2 holes. They're somewhat spaced apart from each other, and I've got 1 bigger hole. Here's what I need you to make. So go ahead and make this on your screen. Obviously you don't need to show dimensions, you just need to locate the 3 circles to the correct size. Go ahead and do that now. To create something like this, obviously this symbol means which value again? Radius or diameter? Diameter. So, and I know I have this circle and this circle are the same size. How? Times 2 right here. So here we go. Going to make this real fast. Circle diameter, oops, should type in the value, that usually helps. Circle diameter 1.5. Was that what it was supposed to be? Yep, 1.5. I can always check that and by clicking on here. 0.75, yep, there we go. And we also know that it is 10 units from the other one, so I'll draw a line down 10. Stop. I'll go draw another circle diameter 1.5. Good there. I know it goes up 5, it goes over 10, and then this is where my circle diameter 3 exists. Click these, get rid of them, and I have my shape. Now hole patterns are typically always based on the center of the circles. So those dimensions are pretty crucial, and they like to be repetitive in spacing, especially if you're going into fabrication of heavier steel, those kind of things. Standards always like typical spacing, so kind of keep that in mind. All right, so it's all about the practice, though, to get into there. Questions right off the bat? Yep.
When you put your first circle on I'm trying to figure how you get down the line.
Drew a circle, 1.5 diameter, with me so far. Line command, click the center, point it down, typed in 10, enter, escape. Just like normal, like we did our previous line commands. There's a 10-unit line, now it gives me a locking point to lock onto this, 1.5, and there we go. Well, you got to draw that. What'd you say? Sorry? Oh, instead of actually drawing a line down? Yep. I mean, you can get there, and you'll find that out with this stuff. It's all about the tools. Sometimes one tool works faster than the other. Sometimes, and there's actually another tool that I'll introduce a little bit later on that'll make this even faster. But it's all about what you find that works best for you. Now, you'll also notice that I created that 10-unit line that located the big one. But did you see the trick that I did? I know that, according to the drawing, it is 5 units up from the bottom, right? So I can do this a couple different ways. I can come this way over 10 and go up 5. And that gives me my lock-on point for my third circle, right? It's all about the skeleton, especially with hole patterns. So I click there, diameter 3, there we go. And then just delete your lines out when you're done. That's the key thing. You can always, it's key thing in creating this stuff, always remember, you can delete stuff out. What you draw doesn't have to be the final thing. You can draw all kinds of things and get rid of it at the end. It just takes lots of practice. Yep.
Okay, so I guess my question there was, when we went from circle to line, it will always automatically put in the center of that circle?
No, you have to click on the circle. Watch. Line command. It's asking you to click a point, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Your line will start in the center.
If you tell it to, you have to zoom in close and make sure it clicks on the circle.
Yeah, In other words, you're not having to line your center point up in the circle.
Correct. As long as your snaps are on, your object snaps down at the bottom are on, it will help you find the circle, center of the circle. And then you head down. Yep. Other questions? Got some more draw tools. So we've got polyline, we've got a circle, and we've got a bunch of different circles. However, I'll leave that to some of the other material that's available to you that go into specific tools about circles. What I've shown you is the most common application of circles. You've got this arc feature right here. And look at this. You've got tons of arcs. Now, in your own words, what would you all say an arc actually is? Part of a circle, a semicircle, whatever the case may be, a rounded edge. And we put arcs onto our fabricated parts all the time. We do it for smoothness, we do it to reduce weight, we do it for curvature in case there's some type of camber movement associated with it. A camshaft, for example, the concept of a cam. Arcs give us a whole different way of controlling features. So we have them all the time. How we create them, a bunch of different ways. And we've got materials showing how each of these work. So one of the common ways to make an arc is hit the 3-point arc, and 3 points, and you've got an arc. Arcs can also be generated with a start end radius. So a start point here, an end point here, and a radius value here. And I didn't do it right. So let's try it again. Start end radius value. See how it's moving there based on my dimensions? It establishes the radius between those 2 points. Not super hard to learn. You just got to choose which type of arc technique you want to use. They all generate arcs, but they're sometimes based off different parameters. Yep.
So is it always going to be, like you said, that third point, which say in the middle?
The answer is no already, because you said always going to be.
Yeah.
There is no always going to be, especially in arcs,
Okay.
because each one of these tools operates differently.
Okay. Okay.
Here's the good news though. When you start one of these commands, it tells you what information it needs from you. Watch. I hit start end radius. I look down at the bottom and look what it says. It says specify the start point of the arc. So that means, what do I need to give it? The start point. So I say click. Then it says specify the end point of the arc. Well, I want my arc to end right over here. Click. Then it says specify center point of arc, or actually specify radius of arc. I can type that value in, or I can keep moving my cursor around, and it's measuring my cursor distance from the start point there. So, but let's just say that I type in a value and I have no idea what to type in here. Let's just say radius of 10, enter, and it works. Yep.
Okay, and so when you put your center mark there, when you tell it, or enter your center mark there.
Your center point, well, I didn't do any center points.
No, I mean the center,
The radius value.
Yeah, radius.
No, okay, yeah, the number.
It's going to be based on a circle.
Yes, it's all. Whenever you see radius, that's always a circular component.
I mean the arc is based on it.
It is, yes, absolutely. It's still, in theory, it's almost as if you have a circle that's radius 10 that's just that big, but we only happen to be using a portion of that. It's how you create. And again, that's only one arc format. There's a bunch of different ways to create what you need based on different parameters. And you go through and you learn them, or you choose one that fits your particular situation. So for example, if I had no values whatsoever, but I saw that someone gave me a drawing that looks like this, and I needed to do an arc from here to here, what arc would I choose? 3-point arc, click, click, and click. Yep.
And that answers my other part of the question. The arc doesn't, whatever the arc is, it doesn't always mean if it continued it would make a circle.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. The arc is, by its very definition, only a portion. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to make a perfect circle at the end of the day. So, and it's one of those things you just have to experiment with. You just have to do enough of them to get a feel for which one works best for your particular situation. So that's an arc. That's a quick one. We do that a lot in fabrication, again, to smooth things off. But we've also got some other great tools right in this area. And again, now this is just some brief strokes, some broad strokes associated with this. You get to check out the material a little more in depth. But you've got a command here called the rectangle and the polygon. Rectangle works super fast and easy. Watch this. You click 2 points, you got a rectangle. You click another 2 points, you got another rectangle. It definitely speeds the process up, but you know that we don't just get to freehand everything we do, right? We always have to use dimensions. So if I want to do a rectangle with dimensions, I click the button, I look down at the bottom, it says specify corner point or blah, 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 blah. I'll give a start point, and I can actually enter in dimensions if I want to by choosing the option of see how there's little options right here? I can click on these buttons, or I can right click and say dimensions. And let's say I want our rectangle to be 10 horizontal, 5 vertical, and then one more click to select. So the actual rectangle command can make your rectangle real fast with just entering in some stuff. Okay? But you could also draw it at the same time and be done just as fast if you want to. Your choice. There is one advantage to the rectangle in terms of plasma cutters and CNC and 3D modeling, and that's the advantage of this right here. Look at it. What do you see the rectangle's made out of? Polyline. So that saves you the time of having to convert one of your hand drawings into a polyline rectangle if the case may be. Again, polylines are very important in the technology. To show you, the polygon one is a little bit more complex, so I say go reference the actual tutorials on that one, because that's just a bunch of steps. And let me tell you this too, when you go through the polygon command, learning how to do it, write down how to do it. It is intricate, and when you are quizzed or tested or given an assignment on it, you will have to know all those steps. So it is in your best interest to just write down the steps so you don't try to remember in a stressful situation, okay? But I won't show that right now. You just need to go through the training material on the polygon. Now, what kind of shapes would you say are on prints that are associated with polygons? And polygon just means multi-sided. It could be 5-sided, 6-sided, 7-sided, 8-sided. What would you guess? Do what? Stop signs, absolutely. Let's talk about fabrication though. What parts are we typically used to seeing that have more than 4 sides? Exactly. Bolt heads, openings for bolt heads, if you're going to create a whole pattern to actually fit bolts down into. Hex heads, 6-sided polygons are one of the most common things that are drawn with fabrication prints, or actually used with cutouts. So your polygon command to create a six-sided polygon is a big deal. However, you're going to learn when you go through the material that there's 2 different ways to make the polygon. You can either make that 6 sides fit inside, see if I can get that thing to pop up again, it's not going to, fit inside a circle or fit around a circle, and that makes a big difference which one you choose. So that's where people can make a lot of mistakes in quiz situations, so watch out for that. So those are the 2 little polygon things you can choose, and then there is also the ellipse, which basically creates shapes like this. We don't use the ellipse as much because it's not really a fabrication type of thing. One of the things that ellipses are used very well for, though, is like material removal. When I want to reduce weight on parts, I can use ellipse. They're structurally useful, so are circles. And also we use it a lot in additive manufacturing to just not have waste material and do stress distribution. Ellipses work pretty easily though. One of the best ways to make an ellipse is to make the skeleton for it, and then use the ellipse command to essentially click here, click here, click here, and delete, and you have your ellipse made. Okay? They're usually based on horizontal distance and vertical distance. Okay? Easy to draw. One of the things in the draw panel is the hatch tool. The hatch tool is awesome because it does this right here. It allows you to fill in spaces with patterns. Whatever the pattern you want to choose, maybe you want to make it into a gradient color, maybe you want to make it into a pattern of, let's see, solid, no, I want the pattern of a certain type of material. I want to change the scale. All kinds of things the hatch command can be used to generate this for. Super easy to use, and it's more of a graphical thing. We don't really use it in actual tooling or fabrication because it's not really, it doesn't create polylines. It creates a pattern, but it's actually, let's see, all right. But it actually results in, close here, it results in a graphical thing that you'll see on prints more than anything else. We typically use it with section views more often than not. Not so much CNC or fabrication, but just drawings. But a great tool. Easy to use, easy to work. You just have to watch a few of the rules, and the tutorial material is there for that. Questions you want to ask? Yep.
I thought I either could remember or wrote down the sequence for the angle.
Yep.
Have you that?
Sure, absolutely. So when you need to draw a line to length and angle, you give it a start point, right? Okay. Then what's the first thing you type? At symbol. It's the at symbol. At symbol's first, then the length. So let's say we want to make this thing 15 units long, and then what? Well, less than, and then the angle you want to be. So let's say 37. Let's say 37.5. So the sequence, and then you hit it. Of course, hit enter, and there it goes. So the sequence is this. And by the way, this is my symbol for click a start point. I just put the cross there. If you ever see me do it, that's just what it means. But your sequence is at symbol, length, less than, angle, and of course you hit what key at the end to finish the command? Enter, E-N-T. You have to type that in to make it for you. So length, angle, don't forget these 2 symbols in the sequence. And when in doubt, you can always go back to the tutorial material and see this done again and again and again, and you can write it down that way. Questions? All right.